I want to follow up with the chairman's last comment. 657,000. Let's call it 700,000. Where do we get that intel to figure out that number? Either gentleman, please.
So, our Office of Intelligence and Analysis does estimate the number of people who are in the hemisphere and who may be moving north. The numbers I've seen don't quite match the 650,000, but, those are all rough estimates. I think we can all agree that there are hundreds of thousands of migrants throughout the hemisphere that...
But you do this with a partnership of others that work with us.
Of course, yeah.
And Mr. Hoffman, any thoughts on that number?
So, again, don't know the exact source of the Chief Ortiz's number. I've known Chief Ortiz a lot of years, and I'm sure he's extremely confident in that number if he gets that number. I just don't know the source of it. I am confident there are a lot of people moving in through the hemisphere, mostly headed this way. The exact numbers, it's hard to tell where they're going to stop, but yes, they are moving. People are moving this way. We see the news reports. We look at shelters that have people that are housing.
And Mr. Hoffman, again, I would invite folks, if we could put together a Codell to go visit some of these countries to see the devastation, and you don't have to argue that point here. People are hungry, devastated economies. They will find a place to survive, as that picture of that little girl showed. And I guess if I can, I would say that Mr. Chairman is right. What he showed in that poster was what I would call part of the hope, the opportunity to maybe figure out a way to employ a safe legal pathway. I would say the other two legs of that stool are penalties. Title VIII, there are severe penalties for trying to cross, not using a legal pathway. And the last one I want to focus on in my last 3 minutes are the cooperation piece. I think it's important because this, if we're going to move forward to address the issues in the hemisphere, specifically our southern border, we have to continue to work with our partners. You mentioned, for example, that Mexico is taking, for the first time ever, is taking repatriated individuals from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. Are these people that are then repatriated to Mexico, do they stay in Mexico, or does Mexico repatriate them back to the other countries?
So that is really a question for the government of Mexico, but these are individuals that are, repatriated under our Title VIII authorities, which, as you know, it is the first time in our history Mexico is allowing that.
And so, essentially, I believe what Mexico is doing, and I'll double check myself here, but I think they're providing with work visas and other opportunities to actually work. And you mentioned, was it you or that I read in that I listened to this morning in the news, that we are cooperating with Panama, Colombia, and other efforts across the hemisphere. And I hope that those are humanitarian efforts to address this refugee crisis and begin to figure out how to get a handle on this situation, because it is going to be with us for a number of years, in my opinion. But any thoughts on that, Mr. Huffman, Mr. Nunez?
So, if I may, I think, when someone arrives at our border, it is far too late. We need to engage regionally with our partner countries in order to address these flows well before they reach our border. What Colombia and Panama are doing right now is unprecedented. It is a coordinated binational operation in the Darien to try to attack the smuggling networks. We have been providing technical assistance. I know CBP has deployed personnel to assist in that. The Department of Defense has been active. And those are the kinds of things that we really need to do more of, because again, I think the more we can impact these flows well before our border, the better off.
Mr. Huffman, Mr. Huffman, my last 50 seconds, please.
Yeah, thank you, sir. From an operational perspective, I would say that Mexico has cooperated with us more recently than I've seen in my career. The help they've been.
In your career is how many years?
38 years, sir.
Thank you.
They are increasing their enforcement efforts on their southern border as well, which is slowing the flow. They are redirecting folks that we have returned to Mexico and flying them back to their southern border to kind of add an extra consequence and deter them from coming to come north. And they're also helping redirect folks to our border to kind of slow them down as a way as well. So that's a very positive outcome, or that we've been having recently, and it's been very helpful, and I think it's part of the reason some of the flows have slowed down here recently.
I'd like to, with my last 3 seconds, say I do hope we continue to double down on the humanitarian aspect of this refugee crisis. Mr. Chairman, I ran out of time.
Gentleman yields.